No one in the village knew they were eating their own dead. They only knew that after her husband's sudden death, her restaurant became impossible to resist. The soups were thicker and the meat was softer. People traveled from far villages just to eat from her pot. But then something strange happened. Customers began to recognize faces in the meat, familiar beads in the soup, and then one night, a woman swore the food whispered her name before she even swallowed it. They first knew her as Iyabisi the groundnut woman. She used to roam the streets of Lagos Island with a rusty tin bowl hanging from her arm, calling out in a tired voice, "Groundnut, groundnut." Her wrapper was always thin. Her feet cracked from hot tar. Her eyes dull from too many disappointments. At night, she returned to a one-room face me I face you, where her husband Kule drank agogoro until his breath smelled like rot and his fist forgot mercy. He was so merciless. At night, you could hear her scream as she begs for mercy, but Kule was not a merciful man. People pitied her. Some even mocked her, and nobody feared her. Then one day, Iyabisi had enough. She decided to take matters into her own hands. She was tired of the poverty. She was tired of the marriage. She wanted to escape the life. But she didn't have anywhere to go. Kule was all she knew. He was her childhood sweetheart. She left her parents in the village and followed him to Lagos just because of love. Now, this is the result of the disobedience to her parents. Iyabisi knew her neighbor Iyabola sold herbs, so she met her when she went out to the market. "Iyabola, good morning, oh," she said. Then she lowered her voice, looked around and made sure no one was listening. "Iyabola, I'm looking for very strong poison that will kill a very big rat. The rat in my house, I've used rat poison, but it's not working. I need something very strong, very, very strong for a very big rat." Iyabola looked at Iyabisi with suspicion. She felt something was wrong, but she didn't know what. So she looked into her old battered bag and brought out a bottle of something black. "Here, take this," she said. "Even an elephant will fall with this liquid." Iyabisi took the bottle with shaking hands, thanking Iyabola. The next morning, the whole compound was woken with a scream. It was Iyabisi. She was screaming, "Ewo, help me, oh, please. My husband Kule is dead. My husband is dead." They said it was the drink. He collapsed in the gutter, mouth open, flies already circling before his body cooled. Iyabisi cried loudly, beating her chest. But those who watched closely noticed something strange. Her tears dried too quickly. After the burial, she disappeared for weeks. When she returned, Lagos noticed. She no longer hawked groundnuts. Instead, she set up a small wooden table near the bus stop at Obalende. A single pot, a charcoal stove, and a smell so rich it made conductors forget their insults and bankers losing their ties. It was pepper soup, stew, rice and swallow. Simple food, but people swore they had never tasted anything like it. "This food they touch so low," someone said after licking his fingers. "It be like my mother's cooking, but sweeter safe," another whispered. By noon, her pot was always empty. By evening, people fought for space near her table. People entered her wrapper in thick folds. She moved from a table to a kiosk, from a kiosk to a shed. Her face filled out. Her eyes began to shine, but not with joy, with hunger. People asked questions. Where you dey get this meat sef? She only smiled. A slow knowing smile. Na special supply. At night, when Lagos slept and the spirits walked freely, a white van would stop behind her shed. No headlights and no noise. A man would step out, a very thin and nervous man, always smelling of disinfectant and death. He worked at the morgue. Bodies that were unclaimed, bodies that families never came for, bodies that arrived without names and left without prayers. He never asked what she did with them. He didn't want to know. They said she paid him well, far too well. As her business grew, Yabisi no longer cooked alone. Lagos success attracts helpers the way blood attracts flies. At first, it was just one girl, Shade. Shade was barely 20, a runaway from Mushin with hunger carved deep into her cheeks. Yabisi fed her ordinary food at night and paid her daily. Shade washed plates, fetched water and fanned the fire. She noticed strange things quickly. The meat always arrived after midnight, wrapped tightly and heavy. In fact, too heavy. Yabisi never allowed the girls to touch the raw meat. Never. They could wash rice and slice onions, grind pepper and do other things. But when it was time for meat, she sent them away. Go and sleep, she would say calmly, if you value your life. Curiosity is louder than hunger. One night, Shade hid behind the shed instead of leaving. She watched as Yabisi unwrapped the parcel. What fell out was not a cow, not a goat, not even a ram. It was a human arm, a dark stiff finger slightly curled, as if it was still holding into life. Shade screamed. Yabisi did not panic. She turned slowly, her eyes glowing in the dark, and said, "If you open that your mouth, I will cook your tongue first." The next morning, Shade wanted to run, but she couldn't. Her legs shook, her spirit was trapped, and worse, she noticed something terrifying. The arm was gone. By noon, customers were licking their fingers. More girls came, Zainab, Blessing, and all. They were all desperate. They were all poor. They were all quick to learn the rules. They all found out, some by seeing too much, some by smelling too much, and some by hearing whispers from the pot when the lid shook on the fire. Yabisi gathered them one night and spoke softly. "You will never eat what we sell," she said. She lifted the pot lid. Inside, the stew bubbled thick and red. Faces formed briefly in the oil. Eyes opening, mouths stretching as if to scream. The girls fell to their knees. "Anyone who eats it," Yabisi continued, "will slowly begin to forget who they are. Anyone who exposes me will join the pot." To seal her warning, she took a ladle and poured stew onto the ground. The dirt hissed. The smell was sweet. The ground darkened like soaked blood. After that, fear kept them loyal. They served customers with forced smiles, heavy makeup on their faces to hide their hollow eyes. They collected money with shaking hands. They never tasted a single grain of rice they sold. They brought their own food from home, soaked garri with water and dry bread. Hunger was safer, they said. Sometimes, customers offered them plates. You know they chop your madam food." They laughed nervously. "I don't too full." At night, the girls dreamt of people calling their names from boiling pots. One girl tried to tell a pastor, That night, she disappeared. The next day, Iyabisi added extra meat. The remaining girls knew better than to ask. Soon, rumors began to crawl like cockroaches. People noticed her food tasted familiar. A man swore the meat reminded him of his missing brother. A woman vomited after dreaming she was eating her own arm. Dogs gathered near her shed at night, whining and scratching the ground. An old beggar refused her food and spat. "This is not cow," he said. "This meat once spoke." Nobody listened. One morning, Iyabisi was finally exposed the way all careful evil is exposed, by greed. For years, she was disciplined. She sold only in one place. She paid the morgue worker quietly. She disposed of bones carefully, grinding them into the lagoon at night, whispering apologies to the water. Lagos rewarded her silence with prosperity. But hunger is never satisfied. She wanted more. She opened a second spot in Yaba, then a third near Oshodi. The girls warned her, "Madam, too many eyes." She slapped Shadi for speaking. "Lagos is blind," she said. "People only see what tastes good." The mistake came with a body that should never have touched her pot. A young man died in a police custody. His family was loud, stubborn, and connected. His corpse was logged, photographed, expected. But the morgue worker, shaking, owing debt, sold the body anyway. By evening, the stew was thicker than usual. By night, the dead boy's mother began to dream. She saw her son standing in smoke, his chest cut open and his mouth moving without sound. She woke up screaming his name and smelling pepper. The next day, she followed the smell. It led her to Iyabisi's shed. She stood in line, shaking, staring at the pot. When the lid lifted, her legs gave way. "That is my son," she screamed. People laughed at first. Lagos laughs before it listens. But when she began to say things no stranger could know, a scar behind his ear, a missing finger joint, a prayer mark on his chest, the crowd grew quiet. The girls froze. One of them, Blessing, broke. She dropped her tray and screamed back, "Na human meat, we dey cook dead people." Chaos exploded. People overturned the pot. The stew spilled on the ground, and as it cooled, shapes appeared: teeth, nails, bones. The smell changed. Sweetness turned sour. The wind carried whispers. Someone vomited, and someone even fainted. Iyabisi ran. She was fast for an old woman, wrapper flying and feet slapping concrete. But fear gives Lagos strength. Market women blocked her path. Okada riders knocked her down and a conductor smashed a bottle. When they dragged her back to the street, she did not beg. She laughed. "You have all eaten," she said, blood on her teeth. "You cannot pretend you are clean." That was when the mob truly lost its mind. They stripped her shed. They found bags of bones. And they even found knives worn smooth by years of cutting. They found the girl sleeping mat, thin and haunted. No police came in time. In Lagos, justice is impatient. They tied Iyabisi to a traffic pole at the junction where she had sold the most food. The same people who once fought to buy from her now gathered stones and wood. She lifted her head as flames were brought. "Fire cannot erase me," she said calmly. "You will taste me again." When the fire caught, she screamed. not in pain, but in rage. The smoke rose thick and oily, smelling strangely like stew. Some people swore they saw faces in it, mouths open and finally screaming. By morning, nothing remained but ash and a blackened pool. The girls disappeared that same night. The government denied everything. The street was washed. Another woman took the spot and life moved on. But something happened. For weeks, meat refused to cook properly in that area. Pepper soup tasted bitter. Flies gathered even without food. Dogs howled at the junction at midnight. And sometimes, just sometimes, when hunger is strong and money is small, people swear they taste something familiar in their food. Something too good. Something that remembers.